And then from Christian Zionism, we have the idea of Zionism. Okay? And Zionism is the belief among certain Jews that two things, okay? One is that the Jews are the chosen people of God and that Israel is the promised land. And therefore, Jews must return to Israel. Okay, does that make sense? Okay? But what's important is, before Christian Zionism came along, Zionism was not, Jews didn't really think this, okay? So it was the Christians who supported this idea of Zionism. And even when this idea came about, which was about 200 years ago, it was an extremely unpopular religion, a very extremely unpopular idea. And the reason why is Jews didn't think they were a race of people. They felt they were a religion. Okay? They felt that, okay, I'm in Iraq. Well, guess what? I'm an Iraqi like everyone else. I might have a different belief, but I'm still Iraqi, okay? They didn't put the religion above their nationality or their race, okay? Do you understand? And Zionism is like, no, being a Jewish person is a race, and therefore you must return to Israel, okay? The problem with all this is that in Israel, Palestine, it was mainly Arab people, okay? So there were very few Jewish people. And in fact, Zionism couldn't convince anyone to come to Palestine, okay? But then, of course, the Holocaust happened. And after the Holocaust, many Jews started to go to Israel, and in 1948, they established the state of Israel, okay? And the Christian Zionists and the dispensationalists, premillennialists, were very happy with the establishment of Israel because they feel that we've achieved the first step in this plan to bring Jesus back, okay? Okay, does that make sense? Okay? So, to summarize, the main message is this, okay? Here's what you need to know. First is that there are many Christians who believe that Israel and the Jews must be used as a tool to bring Jesus back, okay? That's the first thing. Second thing is that America was founded as a Christian nation. Therefore, its soul is Christian. Its first leaders were Christians who believed in Christian Zionism. Their descendants now control the military and the foreign policy apparatus of America. Okay, that's the second thing, okay? And the third thing is that Israel, as a nation, thinks that it can use Christian Zionism in order to advance its geopolitical interests, which is to basically gain control over the Middle East. Okay, do you understand? And that's what's driving the conflict between Israel and Iran. Does that make sense? Okay? What's driving the conflict between Israel and Iran is America believes it has a religious responsibility to protect Israel against Iran. In fact, if there's a war between Iran and Israel, that's a good thing because it's going to drive this prophecy and the return of Jesus, okay? And then people in Israel are like, you know what? If we go to war with Iran, America is going to fight for us. So why not?
Yeah, that's pretty cheap.
Right? We don't have to fight this war. America's going to do it for us. So why not fight this war? We lose nothing. We gain everything from this war. Okay? So the idea is that all this is driven by a religious worldview, understanding the world. Okay? And over time, this worldview will only become more popular in America. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. Okay, good. Any questions about this? Anything that's not clear about what I just what I just explained? Do you mean to clarify anything?
So why like Jewish they don't like believe like they put their nationality first instead of like believe the religion?
Okay. I don't really understand the question. Can you repeat the question?
I mean, like you said, like the Jewish, like they don't put like their race or their religion above their nationality. So why? But I think the Christians they believe in the religion more.
Right. So okay. So both Judaism and Christianity are religions. Okay. There's no race. There's no race to the idea of Christianity, right? You can be Chinese and Christian. You can be American and Christian. It doesn't matter. Right? And that's what the Jewish people say as well. I can be Chinese and Jewish. I can be American and Jewish. Because being Jewish is a religion. But the idea of Zionism is that being Jewish person is a race. In fact, you are directly descended from the Hebrews in the Bible, which is complete nonsense. This is not true, okay?
Is this like is this idea still not popular or it becomes more popular?
Zionism is the main political belief of Israel, right? Why does Israel exist? Because Israel is the promised land that God gave to his chosen people. Okay? And this was a promise that dates back at least 3,000 years to the time of Abraham. And it's written in the Bible. Therefore, it must be true. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. Any other questions? Okay, that's a great question, okay? All right. So I'm making the argument that Christian Zionism and dispensationalist premillennialism will over time become more popular religions in America. Okay, and the question, and Charles asks like, well, why? Okay, let's go back to the founding of Christianity. Why did Christianity become so popular? It became popular because it was in the Roman Empire, okay? At that time, there's something called the Pax Romana, which meant the Roman peace. Okay? Which meant that the Romans controlled everything, therefore there were no wars, therefore people were at peace, right? And you think that's a good thing, right? The problem is that if there's peace, then you have massive inequality. Okay? Because war is a mechanism back then of social mobility. Right? War killed people. And if war kills people, that creates opportunities for the people who are alive. But if there's no war, then what happens is, if I'm a rich person, guess what, guys? I become more rich. If you're poor, what happens? You become more poor. Okay? So as a poor person, what do you think? You think that life is hopeless. Life is pointless. There's no future. There's no hope, right? And so Jesus comes along and says, listen, if you believe in me, then I will bring the kingdom of heaven onto earth, and I will destroy inequality. Everyone will be the same, okay? So again, back then it was a free lottery ticket. Today, we live in something called the Pax Americana. And the Pax Americana, same thing where for the past 70 years, there's been peace around the world, right? Very few people have died. But all that means really is that inequality has increased. Fewer and fewer people have money, okay? Guys, billionaires, Make no sense. Do you understand? Why should a few people have all the money? That makes no sense. Because money is meant as a mechanism of exchange and transaction, right? You use money, you should spend your money. If it's all in the bank, what's the point of that? Okay? So having billionaires is a bad thing. And if you go to America, you'll find that there are many young people who feel that like life is pointless. Okay? So they're looking for alternatives. You understand? And this idea of dispensationalist premillennialism, which is like what's happening right now in Israel will lead to a better world, that's kind of attractive to you. You understand? Right?
To these people who think life is meaningless. Why do they feel life is meaningless?
Well, because you're poor and you're stuck being poor. Guys, imagine you are a delivery person in China, in Beijing, okay? You're like a kuaidi yuan, right? What hope do you have for the future? Your life is pointless and hopeless. No one's going to marry you. Even if someone marries you, you can't have children because you can't afford to have your children go to school. You can't buy a house. You can't afford anything. You're stuck being a delivery person for the rest of your life. Do you understand? Do you know how many delivery people there are in China? Millions and millions, okay? So you have millions and millions of young men who have no hope in the future. Right? Yes, because Jesus is coming and he's going to destroy the world we live in.
We're all going to live in harmony. I don't have to deliver food. So it's also a free lottery ticket.
That's exactly right. Christianity is a free lottery ticket. It costs you nothing. And if you win big. Okay?
Hey, that sounds kind of tempting. That actually sounds kind of tempting.
Right? What does it cost you? It costs you nothing, right? Okay? Do you understand? That's why it will become more popular over time.
But it will drive you to do something.
Excuse me?
Like, if you become more and more believed in this idea, you might want to have to do something for that.
Right. So what you do is you support America, you support Israel, you support the war against Iran. You want more conflict in the Middle East because the conflict in the Middle East will drive the prophecy, right? Do you understand? That's what you want. You want more war.
That's against the idea of peace.
What good does peace do you? Right? Peace just means like tomorrow you'll still be poor and hopeless. Right? But war, it's an opportunity for a new world.
It's making people more and more extreme.
Exactly. Right? So all this inequality is making people much more extreme and desperate. Right? Which will lead more people to believe in dispensationalist premillennialism. Okay?
Does the government want this instability?
The government, of course, does not want any instability. But what can the government do about it?
I don't they provide social welfare to poor people.
You're absolutely right. Okay, so the government could provide social welfare to poor people, but where would the money come from?
The rich, the tax.
Right. Do you understand? Okay.
Fine.
Okay. Who's more dangerous to you? A few rich people or millions of poor people?
Poor people.
No.
But they're alive.
No. A few rich people are much more dangerous than millions of poor people. Do you understand?
Millions of poor people united, they can.
That's right. United, right? Poor people don't know how to unite.
So this is a opportunity for them to unite.
That's right.
Oh. Okay.
That's logical.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Okay.
So this gives them a reason to fight those rich people.
Yeah, but
But they don't actually fight the rich people. They fight for something that's pretty much away from them. It's like a thing that might never come true.
right. Okay. Okay. So does this make sense? Okay. All right. So this is the so I mean it's hard because this is religion. Okay, and we're not religious. I'm not religious. You're not religious. So we don't really understand how religious people think. Okay. But remember that on this planet Earth, most people are religious, and they take their religion very, very seriously. Okay. Do you understand? They're willing to die for the religion because they think that if I die from a religion, I'll go to heaven.
Why heaven so attractive?
Excuse me?
I mean, why heaven is so attractive?
Okay. All right. So
It's more attractive compared to their current life.
that's exactly right. Do you understand? Okay. All right. Because you're not giving people any hope, and religion gives people hope.